Okay, so this brings us to October 15th, 2020, which is just the next day, um, at one of my favorite places in the entire world, if not my favorite place in the entire world, Dolores Park. And I remember I don't know if it was necessarily a Saturday, but I do remember that it was his day off. And I remember Peter and I met at the corner, what they call Gay Beach, where the Golden Fire Hydrant is. What is it? 18th? 20th and 20th and Church, where the J Church goes, right? And I just remember we met and we were both kind of giddy, kind of shy, still in that mindset, which I was excited to still be in. It felt like a dream, right? It was nice. And I asked him if he wanted to be my boyfriend, and he said yes. It was like a soft, like really cute, shy yes. And we were off to the races. I realized at this point in the story, it would be helpful for me to give you some background, an idea about who Peter and I are. And actually why I felt that this would be a relationship that was going to work, that was going to last. So, like I mentioned, Peter had moved to San Francisco. So actually not shortly after, this is gonna put a timeline on everything, but not too long after graduating from college, apparently, moved to San Francisco and was working part-time at Target, had a business and a side business gig that he was doing, and had a background in political communication. So at one point had thought about running for office, decided not to, and had been like a server and a bartender all throughout college. So I was really impressed by his hustle, honestly. And it didn't make me think less of him that I met him as a checker, because I also come from a working class background, and actually that's why I felt that we would perhaps work. So his mother is a teacher. She also teaches like sign language. She's fluent in sign language, so she's an interpreter, and has like a couple other gigs outside of her teaching, which I was, again, also very impressed by. Like, listen, I love a hustler. We all love a hustler. And then he has an older sister, I believe, so 2 years older than him, who was also on the road to becoming a teacher. And I believe she is a teacher. She's a teacher in Texas. So he also has two older step siblings. He's the youngest, two older step siblings from Michigan, from the Midwest. So I give you those, again, everything I'm giving you is for a reason, but I'm giving you all those details for a reason, because my dad's father, my grandfather, I did not meet the man. He was from Nebraska. He actually grew up on a corn and soybean farm in the Midwest, right, in Nebraska. So I thought, oh, hey, that's kind of cool. We love a Midwestern boy. My parents, so I'm the oldest of four. There's four of us, three boys. The youngest is a girl. And my parents have been married for it'll be 34 years next year. So almost 34 years. Peter's parents divorced when he was, I believe, 1.5, 2. In his words, he does not ever remember his parents being together. So I'm the oldest, he's the youngest, and I'm trying to think about what other pertinent information that I can give you folks other than So he grew up in the Midwest. I am born and raised in San Francisco. My mother immigrated to San Francisco during the Civil War in El Salvador. So I am Salvadoran on my mom's side. My dad's side, I'm Irish, and mostly Irish and Italian. The Italian side is the one that goes back to the Gold Rush 1865. So enough demographical info. Lovely San Franciscan that I am. But again, that information will come up, all of those details, especially because I met his mother very shortly after we made it official, right? Our relationship, although we never necessarily celebrated our anniversary as you would, right? As celebrate the date. And I'll get ahead. I'll say more about that. But I did meet his mother very shortly after we started dating. I want to say it was a month or a month and a half after, and I will absolutely talk about that in the next video. So I do have to mention, this is later on in the story, but I met his mother, like I said, about a month into our relationship, and it is embarrassing and a little bit infuriating that Peter and my mother did not meet until 4 months before we broke up. That's on me. Again, it's a part of the story that I'm going to get to. Actually, so there is another thing that I need to mention, and you'll see how it relates to all of this. So I grew up in a very conservative religious family. Haha, San Franciscan, right? I'll try my best to not involve politics because that's not what we're here for. Just you wait. But my family did not lean with what most of San Francisco leans with. At least that's not the bubble that I grew up in. So let me throw that out there. That part of why I did not come out until I was 24 was that I grew up hearing about gay being like a cancer. I grew up hearing my father say horrible things about people who died of AIDS during the AIDS epidemic, right here in San Francisco, California. So actually, these are really important parts to the story. Furthermore, so here's the other point I want to make, and you'll see why, because this comes up later as well, is that Peter's family was incredibly accepting, even though he came from a non-religious Catholic family. So I have a knowledge of the difference Catholic and Protestant because my parents both came from Catholic families and then were the first in their families to convert to Christianity and then converted the rest of their families. Believe it or not, everything that I mentioned is actually going to come up later on in the story. But the point I'm trying to make is that Peter never had to come out. Peter never felt that he had to come out. He was always incredibly accepted. It was just something that he felt people accepted of him. So again, there's a couple years between Peter and myself. And that's all I will say for now. So let me tell you about meeting his mother. So for the first time, and I want to say that this was around maybe even less than a month because it was before the election. I do remember that, which was in November. So I met his mother very, very quickly. And that's what I'll tell you folks about in the next video.